Folks, in a video earlier today, we talked about a recent mock draft by NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah and how they had selected, or how he had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selecting Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky, with the 19th overall pick. Now, in that video, I talked about the idea of the Bucs not taking a quarterback at pick 19, not trading up for a quarterback in the NFL draft, and how it just didn't make a lot of sense. Now, that begs the question, should the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take a quarterback at all in this upcoming NFL draft? And I do believe it depends on the context, and I do believe it depends on the situation. What do I mean by that? Well, the Buccaneers did just sign Baker Mayfield to a contract. They signed him, I believe it was a $4.5 million deal, something along those lines, with a max value of $8.5 million. I could have those contract numbers wrong. Point being is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have brought in Baker Mayfield to compete with Kyle Trask. Both of these guys are quarterbacks that the Buccaneers seem to have a lot of confidence in and feel like both can fit very well into a Dave Canales scheme. And I agree with that 100%. I think that this is going to be a scheme. Hopefully, again, we don't have any evidence to support this, but for my own thoughts and opinions, I think that this is going to be an offense that is going to elevate the quarterback play, very West Coast style of offense that is going to support your quarterback and make his job a lot easier, which means that you have two guys in Baker Mayfield and in Kyle Trask who I think can be legitimate starting guys for you and possibly even do well. So whenever you think about the idea of taking a quarterback in this upcoming NFL draft, you've got to look at context. Is this guy going to be a backup? Is he going to be a developmental guy? Is he possibly even going to start? And I think whenever you look first initially at the top four guys, I think all four of those guys got to be off the table, right? Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and Will Levis. I think that all four of those guys won't even be available for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pick, mainly because I believe that Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Anthony Richardson are going to go in the top three picks. They're going to go 1, 2, 3 in whatever order you want to say. And then Will Levis, I still think, is going to be a top 10 quarterback just because there are a lot of teams out there who genuinely need a quarterback. And I think that that's going to be the case for those top four guys. One name that is interesting, which I've been very high on this guy, is Hendon Hooker, but even in the first round, if the Buccaneers were to trade back, I'm still torn on that, right? Because you did just bring in Baker Mayfield, and that definitely does change the dynamic of the quarterback room immensely. Do you want to add another guy to that situation? I mean, it just seems like it would be a luxury type of situation, taking a quarterback in the first or second or third rounds whenever you have more pressing needs rather than luxuries. You need to bring in offensive line help. You need to bring in defensive line help, edge rushing help, secondary help, whatever it may be. The Buccaneers have legitimate needs for those position groups, whereas if they took a quarterback, that would feel like more of a luxury right now. And I guess that also does depend on what your viewpoint is on Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. If you feel that both those guys have absolutely no shot of being this team's quarterback after this year, then maybe you do trade back and take a guy like Hendon Hooker in round 1, or maybe you take him at pick 19. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying I would hate it because I'm a big Hendon Hooker guy. I think that dude can be a legitimate franchise quarterback, but I just still will believe that there are more pressing needs at other position groups. So that's kind of where I'm at with that in terms of the first 3 rounds regarding the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and whether or not they should take a quarterback. Where I do think it may be more understandable is in the later rounds. You look at maybe round 6, 7, maybe 5, then you take a developmental quarterback just to have an extra guy in that mix to see what he's got. That's where it makes a little bit more sense with me, but even then, do you want to use those picks on maybe a kicker, maybe some special teams type guys? There's a lot of questions regarding depth at other position groups as well, to where, again, hey, just taking a guy just to grow and develop, is that necessarily the brightest move there? I don't know. It's a pretty legitimate question. So I think at the end of the day, it's all about context, right? I don't think any of the top 4 guys are going to be there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's what it is at the end of the day. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to falter from that opinion throughout the remainder of the draft analysis throughout until the NFL draft. I think that those top 4 guys, be it Richardson, Young, CJ Stroud, and Will Levis, those 4 guys are not going to be available for the Buccaneers. Hey, I live for chaos, so Hendon Hooker, I would love the pick, but I would still say that that is more of a luxury type of situation for the Buccaneers. If they were to get Hendon Hooker, say at pick 19, or trade back and get Hendon Hooker, that would still feel like a little bit of a luxury for me, just because there are still more pressing needs at other position groups. In the middle rounds, it doesn't make sense because number one, there just aren't even a lot of prospects there who would make a lot of sense. And number two, the Buccaneers would still need depth at a lot of position groups. Same logic applies in terms of what I had in round one. The only way it would make logical sense, in my opinion, and not be a luxury pick if you just say, hey, well, sixth round, there's a guy, fifth, sixth round, there's a guy that we like. Let's just take him and develop him and see what he's got. That's where it makes a little bit more sense to me. Earlier rounds, not so much. Later rounds certainly makes a lot more sense for me. But what do you guys think? I could be completely wrong. Do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to even be in the mix for a guy like Will Levis? Do you think they should take Hendon Hooker? Do you like the idea of them taking a quarterback, period? Let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions. I'd love to hear them. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. And as always, folks, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.